Hi and welcome back to the channel. Today is unfortunately kind of another sad day, which is why this guy is up on jack stands right now. It's mainly vacuum leaks we're going to be talking about, but I'll kind of explain through like what I have experienced just so you can have another example, because I'm sure you've probably searched online, watched numerous videos, just to give you guys another example of what may go wrong and what I have experienced here. So it first started with a check engine light P0171. Which I believe it is system lean bank 1, means that it is too much air basically. And then a couple while later it started to idle a little rough, only at, when you're at a stop sign or when you're on a red light. When idling, the engine idle initially starts normal actually, and then it will slowly build up to maybe a little over 1,000. I don't think it has ever exceeded 1,500. It will just be a little over 1,000, which is not normal. And then it will sometimes come back down. It will never stall. I don't think it has ever stalled, but it would just drop back down and just kind of fluctuate within that range, and it's just not happy. We're going to be doing a smoke test, which is this guy right here. We're going to go through that later. But I also want to use this opportunity to replace the PCV system. I'm not entirely sure if the PCV is the one that is causing this, but it is, I believe, a common failure point for the 2.0 TSI engines, VW Audi family in general. So I'm just going to replace that just to rule that out. But we're going to do a smoke test to just kind of see what else could be leaking. And keep in mind, if you're doing a smoke test at home, make sure you have good ventilation, because that smoke machine does not smell good. Anyways, let's get started with a smoke test, and after the smoke test, we're going to be doing the PCV replacement. So let's go. So we're going to first start doing the smoke test, which we're going to be using this smoke machine that I got on Amazon. I'm not going to go through the process of how to set this thing up because each machine may be different. Just read the user manual. It's usually pretty detailed descripted on the user manual. Two things I'll keep note of though. One is that make sure that you're in a ventilated area, because the smoke does not smell good. You don't want to be smelling that the whole time. The other thing is this bottle, depending on what system or what smoke machine you're using, the bottle may be very hot. So when it is heated, when it is running, do not touch the bottle itself because it may be really, really hot. With that out of the way, we're going to be removing this part of the intake pipe. If you have a stock intake, it'll just be, I would say, anywhere starting from the mass airflow sensor, you can take that out. From this one, because this is an aftermarket one, I'll be taking this section out, which has the mass airflow sensor housing, and then this pipe and the cone. So basically these three things, I'm going to be taking it out. And then we're going to be injecting the smoke inside there. So I'm going to be wrapping this glove around that intake pipe there and poke a little hole so that the smoke later can go in without just directly coming back out. Now that we have smoke, let's poke it in there and see what we get. So after about a minute, actually this is probably 2 minutes, I'm not able to find anything obvious. I don't see smoke coming out anywhere. But let's go underneath the car and see what is down there. Now coming underneath the car, there's quite a bit of smoke coming out. And it seems like it's coming between the transmission and the engine. As you can see, there's like smoke coming out of there. So it's most likely rear main seal that is leaking. And you can see engine oil sipping out between the transmission and engine as well. which is a bad news. It's going to be difficult to replace that. Most likely I'll probably have to take the transmission out, but at least we found where the leak is. Oh my gosh, definitely smoke coming out of there. Well, there you go. Good news is that we found a leak. Bad news is that it's probably going to be pretty intensive or difficult to replace whatever's going on between the transmission and the engine. Most likely, from what I've been researching, it's telling me that it's the rear main seal. If you know more about it, if you have any suggestion ideas, leave a comment down below. I'm looking forward to it. Or if you have a good link or tutorial on how to do that, leave a link down below as well. I'm definitely looking forward to it. But for this video, let's get on with replacing the PCV valve. So let's get on to it. So we're going to start with removing these 4 connectors to the ignition coils, so we can push this back and then we can remove these 2 ignition coils. I believe they're cylinder 3 and 4, so that we can have access to the bolts that is bolting this guy onto the valve cover. We can now remove these connectors because I'm going to be replacing this hose as well. We could probably just remove this guy because this can come off with the unit. There's a connector at the back as well, or right below the intake pipe. There's a connector as well. Remove that one. Now we can start removing these bolts that are bolting the PCV unit on. I believe they're T30s, Torx 30s. Well, I got this part off. Wow, as you can see, it's probably this clipped. Oh yeah, I don't know if the camera can see this, but this clip here is broken and it's not sitting properly, and it's just oil. This whole thing is like soaked in oil, so it's definitely leaking. Let's try and remove this guy as well. Oh, there we go. Okay, gotta be careful. Don't want anything falling inside. So, oh Jesus. Wow, it's dripping oil all over. Let's put a cover on here, just in case. So the inside actually doesn't look too bad. The seal seems to be okay. This feels like, oh, okay, so when it bounced back, it doesn't bounce back to the complete top. So when you push it down, I believe this is acting as kind of like a valve where it controls whether air goes to a specific, certain direction. And just by pushing this, I can tell that it's not perfectly smooth. It's kind of rough, so it's probably stuck at some point. Anyway, we're going to be replacing this, so this goes out. Here's a closer look at the camshafts and the lobes. Basically, these are the things that push the valves open. But if you take a closer look, I tried to angle the camera to be close, but they look really good. They look like there's no flat spot. It's perfectly smooth. If I maintain this engine well, I know it doesn't look great right now. It seems like there's a lot of oil spill when I have to do my oil changes. I'm gonna take note of that now. Be careful with that from now on. But looks like the valves, not the valves, the cam lobes are in really good shape. So hopefully this lasts another 100,000 miles. So this is the part, the new part that we're gonna be fitting in. This valve here, spring valve, I guess, is a lot smoother than the one I have that I replaced. So hopefully this fixes the issue, and we'll find out soon. Before we tighten everything down, we're gonna be putting these back because there's another bolt on here too. So before tightening down, let's install this guy. So I know one side goes into here. Probably should have shoved it in there first. There we go, there we go. All right, the other side goes from here and goes into the intake. I believe these needs to be torqued to 11 Newton meters, I think, for this engine, which is not a lot, so don't like just yank it. Now we can install the last part and we should be good to go. Should be just clip on. Okay, and then put the coil packs back in. Gonna connect the ignition connectors. Alright guys, that's how you replace a PCV system, which is actually pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Kind of like plug and play, I guess. You know, just remove the 9 or 10 bolts, take the old PCV out, put the new one in, put the bolts back on, and you're pretty much done. So it's actually pretty simple. The only thing that I would say you have to look out for is to do not drop anything into the engine, because if you do, it's going to be another bad day. So hope this information is helpful. Unfortunately for me, just by replacing this PCV did not solve the issue. As we saw earlier in the smoke test, that there's somewhere is still leaking down there. I did try and start the engine up. It originally first starts up fine. As the engine RPM starts to drop a little to around like 800-900, it starts to fluctuate again between, like, I would say fluctuates between 700 and 1,000. So it's definitely still not happy, definitely still idling rough. Oh, and I got some misfiring code as well. There's no misfiring when I rev the engine. It's fine. It's only when it's at idle. So there's definitely some massive vacuum leak happening down there. So subscribe, hit the like button. Hope this information is helpful for you guys to diagnose your issue, and more videos will come in the future. As you can see, there's still a problem with this car. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.